Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Nurse Babe Britt, and in today's video, I'm going to update y'all on my BSN to DNP journey and all the things in between. It's been a long time since I made my last video, and life has definitely been lifing like it always does, but I'm trying to get more consistent with this, and I just feel like now is the perfect time to update you guys. And so for those of you who are new to my channel, I am a RN. I've been an RN for 5 years now. My background is in a CVICU, but I've honestly done so many other ICUs since then: medical ICU, surgical ICU, neuro ICU, because I've done float pool. So I've done so many other ICUs. I just say critical care now, but my baby is CVICU. Like, that is where I got my feet wet. And so I am currently in a nurse practitioner program, the Adult Gerontology Acute Care Nurse Practitioner program, and I am obtaining my DNP. So I did the BSN to DNP pathway. And so the last time I made a video, I was in my first semester of clinical rotations, and now I'm in my last semester, y'all. It's like time has just flew. Like, it literally flew. So I am now in my last rotation. It was a 3-year program, so I started 3 years ago. I graduate this August, and since I've done my since I did my last video with plastics, my first rotation in plastics, I've done nephrology as a clinical rotation, and then right now I'm doing my cardiothoracic surgery critical care clinical rotation. So very, very different, all three. Well, I guess nephrology and critical care go hand in hand sometimes, but very different rotations. I loved all of my rotations for so many different reasons. Like, I did not have a bad experience, and I'm very grateful for that. I was blessed to have very patient preceptors that love to teach. And my first rotation, I actually had a MD as my preceptor, and then my last 2 rotations have been nurse practitioners, and so all 3 of them have been great. A common question I get when I'm out and about is, did you have to pay for your clinical rotations? And the answer is no. Like, I don't recommend that. I have my own opinion about that. I would never charge anybody to precept them, and I don't really agree with that whole concept. Therefore, I did not pay for any clinical rotations. Like I said, I've had very great preceptors that were very patient and willing to teach, and they did not charge me a dime. So if that is something that you're struggling with right now, like, oh, I can't find a preceptor unless I pay for my rotations, like, just ask around. My last rotation last semester in nephrology was actually very last minute. I was supposed to be in cardiology, but my preceptor, where she worked, they made some changes where they couldn't take students anymore, and I had a month left to find another rotation, and I literally phoned a friend that phoned a friend that phoned another friend to find my preceptor. And like I said, she was great. So don't be afraid to speak up and put yourself out there, but please, you guys, do not pay for clinicals. Like, just don't. Like, you're already working for free. Like, please do not do that. I've heard so many people do that, and most of the people that I've known that had to pay for their clinical rotations did not have a great experience. And that's just the people I know, but I know several people have done that and they did not have a great experience. And like I said, 10 out of 10, all my rotations, love them for all different reasons. And you guys, I am so excited. It's the final semester. So I will say, just looking back on some of the videos I made when I first started this journey, the program definitely does get more rigorous. It definitely gets a little harder. It's designed for people that are still working full-time or part-time and are going back to school. But honestly, you guys, this is my final semester, and this whole time I've been able to work full-time and maintain PRN jobs, part-time jobs, and I had to call it quits. Like, I took a break. Now, I do travel. I forgot to mention that for those of you who are new to my channel. I do travel nursing, so it's a little easier, I would say, for me to take a break, because all I did was just not pick up another contract. But it's almost double the hours you have to do your last semester versus your other semesters. I have to do 240 hours this semester, and it's a summer semester, so it's already shortened. So trying to get that done plus work full time, plus have time to study, plus have time to do exams and all the things would have been very hard for me personally. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to just take the time off and say, you know what, I'm just not going to work another contract. I'm going to knock out my hours and then I'll get back to working. And so that's what I am in the process of doing. But some people aren't able to do that, and some of my classmates, they still work full time. They figure it out. You know, you may not be able to knock out all of your hours as quickly as you would if you weren't working, but it is still possible. However, some of my classmates did choose the option of dropping down to either part-time or PRN because it is a lot. Even the classwork, like the assignments, it's a lot of remediation in this final semester to prepare for boards. So there's so many more things you have to do that you did not have to do previous semester. So I made the executive decision to just drop my hours altogether, and I have not regretted it. I actually feel very refreshed sometimes. I'm like, wow, it's nice to just be able to focus on school and not have to work. But like I said, I am trying to knock out all of my hours so I can get back to work because I don't want to stay out of work too long. So that is my current situation. But I am just so excited, like so excited. So a part of being in the DNP program, you have to do a quality improvement project essentially. And so it's just for my school, it was a group project. We didn't have to do it individually, and it's just two of us in my group. We started out with 3 and we were down to 2, but we made it work. We pretty much finished our project this semester. We're just focused on writing our manuscript for our project, but we've done the actual project last semester. So I will say, if you are doing a DNP, try to knock it. BSN to DNP, try to knock out some of those things like initiating your project, presenting your project. We already presented our project, even though it wasn't complete, we presented what we had. Try to do that in your not your final semester, but your last semester, because it's going to just take a load off of you, because trying to do all that plus write your manuscript plus everything else you have to do for your specialty track stuff, it can be a bit overwhelming. But that's where I'm at. And so let me take a step back to my experience with my last 2 rotations, because I talked about my plastic surgery rotation, but my rotation in nephrology, if you're not familiar with nephrology, that has to do with the kidneys. My rotation in nephrology was a mixture of outpatient and inpatient. So outpatient, we did a lot of dialysis rounding, and then inpatient, of course, it was inpatient, so we saw patients in the hospital. Usually when we were doing dialysis rounding, we would probably see 60 patients a day. You see patients on the first, second, and third shift, and it equaled out to about 60 a day. And I know this for a fact because I had to submit my clinical notes on these patients for school. So about 60 patients a day outpatient. However, the flow is very different outpatient. We did go float between multiple dialysis centers, so we weren't just at one center. It would have been much less if we were, but we focused in a certain area, and we just went to multiple dialysis centers and saw the patients as they came throughout the day, see if they had any questions, if they need anything, check their labs, make adjustments to their medications depending on their labs, things of that nature. There's been some cases where maybe someone needed to go to the hospital because maybe, you know, their potassium was too high, maybe it was 7, like things like that happen more frequently than you would think, and you have to send them to the hospital because, you know, they have to be within certain parameters outpatient to get their outpatient dialysis. And so that was pretty much the flow with that. Outpatient also included clinic days where you see them in a clinic. However, I didn't participate in those days because the stretch that my preceptor was on, she wasn't going to be in the clinic again for months. So I didn't participate in that, but that is a part of the outpatient flow. And then inpatient, you see pretty much anybody, from patients presenting in the emergency department to patients on the floor. You may see patients in the ICU. My preceptor didn't really focus too much on the ICU patients, the nephrologist did. But usually when we were there, it was one APP, which is the advanced practice provider, so NP or PA. So it was one APP, and then you have several other nephrologists there, and then you just split the list of patients. So whatever the census is, you just split it equally, and you see those patients. Is really how that went. So you saw patients that maybe were dehydrated and had an AKI from that, or you saw patients that were chronic kidney patients but had an acute on chronic situation going on. You saw patients that were coming in for all types of different reasons. So not necessarily just CKD or chronic kidney disease patients, but dehydration patients, overdose patients. Like, you see a lot of different things, which was very interesting, because when I thought nephrology, I just thought dialysis essentially. Like, but it's way more to that. You see transplant patients. So you work closely with the transplant team, and I enjoyed it. And I did have the opportunity to sit down with the nephrologist every rotation when we were in the hospital at lunch. You discuss the patients, discuss any new plans of care, goals of care, if you have questions. And everyone was very receptive to me being there as a student. And so that was a very great experience. Now, I am currently doing my rotation in cardiothoracic surgery ICU. And so very, very, very different pace. And I will say, working bedside as a nurse in the ICU versus working as a provider in the ICU is like night and day. And honestly, I can make a whole different video about that. That's just how different it is. Even down to your mindset, how you think of things as a nurse is not the same as a medical provider. You have to think about it from a medicine standpoint. And that is an adjustment for me, since I am a nurse, but it's very refreshing too, because some of that burnout that you might feel, or that I definitely have felt working in the ICU as an RN, it's just a totally different pace working in the ICU as a provider. I really, really enjoy it. It is something that I didn't know how I would feel about it, but I've been open to every experience that I've had. I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm open to it. And I've really enjoyed it. It's a lot of critical thinking, way more than it is as an RN. A lot of critical thinking. I work night shift with my preceptor, and so at night you don't have any doctors there, so you're making a lot of critical decisions on your own without, I mean, if there's an emergency, you could always call them, but you're making a lot of decisions on your own, and you don't have that easy access of support like you do during the day. Now, I think night shift is great because, like I said, you don't have as much support there. You have the APPs, you have the nurses. That's about it. Now, every hospital is different. Some hospitals do have 24/7 provider attending coverage, and they're actually in-house, but not every hospital is like that. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to be able to see a lot, do a lot, and just really soak up everything like a sponge. And so far, so good. It has not been a disappointment. I've really enjoyed my rotation. So that is just my little life update on where I'm at. Because like I said, I know it's been a long time since I made a video. I am trying to be more consistent, but with everything on my plate, sometimes this just does not get done. And so I am working on it. And what I'm going to do in my next videos, which is going to take me a while before I post this video, but as I start interviewing for nurse practitioner jobs, I'm going to tell y'all what questions I was asked and what the experience has been like so far. And I'm going to document that journey so that way you guys can have that to relate back to, because that is something, even myself personally, I look on YouTube and I'm like, well, how to prepare for a nurse practitioner interview? What kind of questions are they going to ask you? You know, all the things. Stay tuned for those videos that will be coming up over the next couple of months. Like I said, it's going to take me a while to document that because I want to get all of it. And like, I'm not finished. I haven't graduated yet. So it's going to take me a while to document all of that. But I'm going to try to compile all of that in one video for you guys to watch. Hopefully it will be helpful to you. So thank you guys for tuning into my channel. Again, I am Nurse Babe Britt. I will be NP Britt soon, and I am so excited. Let me know if you guys have any questions below, anything that you want me to dive deeper into, any questions about anything. It could be about RN stuff, it could be about NP stuff. Feel free to ask me. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, turn your notifications on, so when I do post my next video, you will be the first to know. Thank you guys. I'll see you soon.